O Emperor, from the snares of the heretic, the mutant, the xeno, and the warp spawn. In you we place all our faith, in you we find refuge, in you we find our avenger. Lead us forth into legions of humanity's foes. With thy spirit and give us the courage and capability to slay the foes in every battle we are compelled to fight, though they last until the end of time.
And then I can go home and not deal with it.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Conventual Warfare.
With snow.
With snow.
Seasonal edition.
Christmas episode!
We're a bit late for a Christmas episode. Also, I always shut everything down for Christmas and everyone goes off to have Christmas times. So, hello everyone, and welcome back. That's what I say, right, Safi? Welcome back to Conventual Warfare. Welcome back to Conventual Warfare.
Going.
This is The Wandering Inn. And I'm Sheepdog. If you enjoy the content we make, then there are places where you can go to make me make more content. If you go to the Patreon and pledge a little bit, then I will be able to fund more shows, because we pay the cast here, and essentially the only reason why you don't get 2 shows a week is because I can't quite pay the cast all the time 2 shows a week. So that's why Dragon Riders is being recorded, for example. Season 3 coming at some point. But yes, the Patreon is a great place to support the channel, which will make sure that more shows get made. We are getting closer and closer to hitting that 2-show marker, so keep going, guys. Past that, there is obviously Twitter and Discord if you want to be notified for when the shows go live and keep up to date with things. And I think there are other places. I mean, there's the YouTube, but you're here, so I probably don't have to promote that, do I? No. Okay. Technically speaking, we do have a TikTok and we have an Instagram. I just haven't used them, and they're sitting completely ignored. I think a couple of people found them, but there's no content on there yet. Past that, I think that's everything. Have I missed anything? I have to check in with people with more brains power than me. Okay. In that case...
Bold of you to assume I have more than 3 of my brain cells rubbing together today.
Well, so I have a chance currently 1 in 5, a 1 in 5 chance of at least one person here having more brain power than me. So I just took a shot.
Yeah, don't look at me.
But you were going to say something. You took like a breath, and I was like,
I did.
say something.
I
You
know,
took an
'cause I
announcement breath in.
Because, no, I thought you, oh, not an announcement breath. You said more brain power, and I was like, I totally thought you were going to say has more brain cells than me, and I was like, that's a way to start a show today.
My brain cells in the Discord for you.
That all looks fine.
GPs.
Are they sugar-free or vegan?
Brain cells are already distracted from the show.
We're doing great.
It's okay. I'm just fixing the cameras very slightly.
I fixed mine a little bit. Oh, yeah.
Just so we had little spaces and light ups and everything. It's all good now. So yes. In that case, what is next is what happened in the last episode of Conventual Warfare. Play theme song.
Ba-da-ba-bum.
Is this just a soundtrack and then we read Mr. Matt's comments?
Previously on Conventional Warfare, and then you have to say your lines that you can remember from last episode.
Yeah, but like instead of, like a booming, like voice. It should be like a sultry like female voice, like previously on conventional warfare.
Yes.
I could give it a shot, but I'm not sure I can do. I'm not sure I can do sultry female, to be honest.
You've got all of us.
No, I would
Come
like
on,
him
Ellie.
to give it a shot, honestly.
And if you want to volunteer, go on.
Kashibi?
Uh-huh.
We're ready.
Previously on conventional warfare.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yes.
Gentlemen. a new patron goal, maybe? Anyway.
Oh my gosh, that would be a fun Patreon goal, is if you actually wanted people to do your intros for you, or to write a fun scripted intro for you.
I have, so it is a fact that some of the higher tier patrons are allowed to make intros for me that I have to read. I have done a couple in the past before. They have been humiliating and terrible, but I have.
So continue to sub to the Patreon and make Sheepy read embarrassing, awesome intros for us, please. Thank you. Wonderful. We would love this.
And yet, even if they're trying to troll me, they'll still be better than my actual intros. So, last episode on conventional warfare, we saw the end of the, let's call it, kerfuffle in the Hive Calliades, where essentially the sisters and the Canoness commander, along with the Astartes, took charge and decided to move into the hive, the underhive, and essentially cut out the elevators leading up to the main part of the hive. Make sure that they were all make sure that they were all kind of either destroyed or incapacitated, and take out the manufactorum, so nothing else heretical can be made there. They had a small organized group who had taken over the area. There was a fairly quick gunfight and a bit of melee. Sister Superior Rose was sent up to the hive main to basically oversee, make sure no one established a beachhead in the main part of the hive. And Sister Superior Genevagora essentially took charge as XO for a little while that was happening. Once the objectives were cleared, they moved out, and Sister... it's not Sister, is it? It is Dialogus Lilith started to investigate a couple of missing squads and sisters, trying to find out exactly where they'd gone over the course of the situation in the hive being dealt with. The findings essentially seem to point towards them having gone to a meeting with the Magos Biologus and essentially not reporting in after that. Dialogus Lilith went down, tried to get in, and was ultimately rebuffed, and decided to wait for the Canoness commander to return, who had more authority and could kind of bypass some of the security. Once everyone returned, the Magos Biologist essentially said, you can go in my lab if you want. They waited for him to return, and when he did return, he was immediately snapped up by the Captain Tykar of the Fidelis Angelus, and taken off to go and be presented to the Inquisitor, which is Inquisitor Gisholt, who had recently arrived in orbit. At this point, they decided to go into the lab, went into the lab, and found out that a couple of the sisters who had gone missing were on operating tables, partially opened up and experimented on, and it seemed like there had been some, what's the word? Heresy, essentially, let's call it. Heretical experiments on the sisters being done by the Magos Biologists under the orders of the Inquisitor, who then contacted the Canoness Commander and said, yep, I did that. Also, I've cancelled your reinforcements. You're about to get invaded, and I'm leaving with the Magos Biologists. Good luck. And then he left.
Queen popped off there.
Yeah. So we are going to rejoin. I believe we have Sister Superior Genevagora, Hospitaller Helestri, and Dialogus Advanced Lilith, along with the Canoness Commander, but we're going to be focusing, I think, on a couple of others for a second. In the lab, after essentially all of this has happened. Sister Superior Rose, essentially you are in transit back from your work. The basics of what I can tell you what occurred. It was pretty quiet. There are a couple of small groups of essentially heretics or rioters or rebels. They managed to get their hands on some guns. There was a bit of a firefight. You managed to suppress it. They were all either killed or executed afterwards. There weren't any severe issues. And you essentially got a glowing commendation from the governor of the Hive. It was pretty simple, pretty easy, and I imagine you're reasonably happy with the results. But you will essentially, you're on a flyer returning now. You'll probably be back in an hour or so. Having said that, Sister Superior Genevagora, Dialogus. My brain always shorts out. I always want to...
Hospitaller.
Whenever I go to say Hospitaller, my brain goes Medicae. And then, yeah. Hospitaller. You are all within the lab. Both sections of the lab, both the front-facing one, which looks a bit more legit, and the back one, which has the sisters. I'm going to assume that it's been organized for the sisters who were being experimented on, obviously who are dead, have been removed at this point. Unless, of course, the Hospitaller wants them to stay there so that you can investigate exactly in more detail what was done to them.
Yeah, I don't think as gruesome as the scene may seem, I don't think there's any point in moving them quite yet, because like I would want to investigate them either way, and they are technically on tables that are used for that. So instead of just moving them already to our space, I think for the moment it might be useful to just keep them there.
Honestly, the setup is a lot better than like what you have. It is all geared around surgery and medical. It's a medical facility essentially, but it's also for research.
Yeah.
So it's all, for you, essentially everything you do is based around healing people, making, fixing wounds, like anything along those lines. So the equipment here is a bit more like advanced than what you have at your disposal.
So I think the repercussions of what the Inquisitor just said will be left to the... Do we need to... Oh, no. The cameras should be good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Canoness Commander. So I think the intricacies will be left to the Canoness to figure out what the hell we're gonna do, because like as a Hospitaller, that's not really my thing, but I will chime in and say, with your permission, Canoness Commander, I will investigate this laboratory and see what we can still learn from it. the sisters, their demise as it may be included.
Okay. In that case, would you like a brief overview of what appears to have occurred with the sisters?
Yeah.
You know what? Like,
Do I have to roll for it?
I was gonna say, like, why not have a roll, right? Like that could be fun. I've heard that's a thing people do sometimes. Could I have a Medicaid roll, please?
Yeah.
Hospitaler. 5 successes. Hell yeah. Easy. So I probably won't withhold much of anything from you. At least, aside from, obviously...
Things I wouldn't understand, maybe.
Yeah. Some aspects of it will probably be beyond you, just purely because, this is pretty out there research. So... You can tell, even without an intricate knowledge of Astartes, that this is definitely an attempt to repeatedly try the creation of an Astartes via a Sister of Battle, an Adepta Sororitas. Essentially, the problem he seems to have been having is that the organs, the gene seed, is being rejected by the host body. So even before it starts to change anything, it's not kind of assimilating to the body. It's not getting off the ground, essentially. And he's been trying to manipulate both the sisters and the gene seed itself to better match each other. The problem is every time it gets to the point where he starts to implant the gene seed, it essentially just immediately has a solid rejection where it just it'd be the equivalent of instead of changing the body and making it fit and adapt to the gene seed. It kind of poisons it and not corrupts it, but degrades it. The body starts to degrade and get other organs shut down. Essentially, the process does not seem to work. He seems to have made a tiny amount of progress, but you would guess that as long as everything went well, he'd have to do this 200-300 times just to get the organs, the gene seed, starting to make the process work.
Because basically, as long as both sides, being the gene seed and the sisters themselves, as long as they don't fully match up, it just kills them.
Yeah. It's essentially the bodies reject the organs, the body rejects the process. He'd have to do trial and error, kind of adjusting the genetics, adjusting the everything, basically.
And I'm assuming this is obvious, but he tried this on the sisters while they were still alive, and then they died because of that, right?
Yes, definitely.
Did he try it the same way every single time? He adapted to the genes and he tried to adapt something in the sisters, but did he try it just the same way of application, I would say?
So the process of creating an Astartes is fairly regimented. It's a process of inserting organs and etc., and them slowly adapting to it over a long, painful period of time. It appears that for the most part he stuck to it. In the logs and in these last couple of bodies, you can see that he's tried to mix up the implantation of the gene seed in a different order to see if that does anything. Essentially, he's it seems like he's kind of hit a bit of a roadblock in his research, and he's just trying anything. Maybe the time crunch as well, with people starting to question where the sisters were disappearing to. maybe that made him a bit desperate. But
And as a Warhammer nerd, can I assume that why he's doing this research is because, like, I don't fully understand, but the sisters have, like, faith, right? The Astartes, from what I understood, like, the Astartes, like, they can fight with you, sorta, kinda, but they don't share the same faith for, like, the Emperor and all.
yeah, the Astartes are totally loyal to the Emperor. I would say nearly all of them don't believe he's a god and don't follow the core religion of the Imperium, which is that the Emperor is a god. It's what the sisters believe. It's what the majority of the Imperium believe. Also, the Astartes have their own loyalties, and their own kind of like they're weirdly independent, whereby they will get into fights with Inquisitors. They'll get into fights with whoever if they feel that they're right, and very often they feel like they're right. The benefit of having a superhuman, like super soldier version of the sisters is you get all the benefits of the Astartes with the religion and loyalty to either the Inquisitor or the Ecclesiarchy. And also you nicely sidestep the fact that the Ecclesiarchy isn't allowed men under arms in the laws, which is why the sisters exist, because they're not men under arms. If you could do the same thing with the sisters, you'd have women Astartes, like, under the control of the Ecclesiarchy.
Yeah. It's basically, if you were to think in the mind of someone like the Magus, it seems like the next step in evolution.
Yes. Also, I can give this, like, you'll have access to his notes because he said he opened them up, and his research, even though he also took it with him. Essentially, he did it because he wanted to see if it was possible, and he wanted to push the limits and boundaries of what is currently known. A very typical scientist, crazy researcher type reason. The Inquisitor seems to have done it. I'm not sure how much you'd get here, but I'd say the Inquisitor seems to have done it for his own gain, as opposed to trying to push technology or trying to, lift back the veil of creation or anything, anything like that.
Yep. All right. Then for now, I think Sister Hilestri will be busy in the laboratory, looking over the bodies, but mostly looking through all of the files and all of the research that is there.
Okay. In that case, I think for a moment, we should visit the mind of Canoness Commander Minerva, and see how she is doing given the recent developments.
Oh God. There's, it's a good thing that the Sisters of Battle have white hair, because the amount of grays that would be showing is unreal right now. Minerva is following the events, the conversation that she had with the Inquisitor. She actually does leave the room and asks the rest of the crew to investigate while she leaves, and she does go to pray. Actually, she is going to go pray and seek guidance before she makes her next moves.
All right. So, the Canoness Commander, I'm not going to say storms, but very definitely dark clouds into the room, into this large kind of prayer hall. It's where you did your initial speech to the way back in episode 1. The assistants there essentially, having an idea of what's gone on and that you're unhappy and want some privacy, clear the room out. There's just a couple of, people either cleaning or just praying themselves. And you are left kneeling in front of a statue, probably a saint or maybe even the emperor, possibly, in silent reflection to process and to look for probably guidance and inspiration. If you want, we can delve into those thoughts and prayers, but
Yes, I think Sister Minerva actually does take a moment and looks around this room and does remember that first episode where she stood and addressed her order that she was called to lead. This was her duty, this is her job, and these sisters are looking to her for guidance, and so she must look to her god emperor of mankind for guidance. And so she kneels in front of one of the many altars and tapestries that they have, and lights a couple of candles and takes that moment in meditation. And she says, "Emperor, we are your servants until the end. We must not let what is to happen next falter our greater purpose. We may need to march war against the heretic, but no foe shall stand in our way. We are here for a purpose, all of us. And if this is part of that purpose, we will fight for you until the end." And she looks and says those words, and then she closes her eyes, but then when she opens her eyes, there's a new sense of fury, I would say, as she's like, yes, we do have a greater purpose. Greater than anything that Inquisitor could have possibly tried to put on us. He thinks that he knows the way. He thinks he knows what his purpose is, but it is not better or greater than our purpose, because how could us, daughters of the Emperor, have any other purpose than to serve? And we will make our way through this. We will not falter. And we will not perish on this planet. And she gets up and she's like, no more of bowing to anybody else. Ooh, I just knocked my microphone over in anger and fury.
Except for the Emperor.
Except for the Emperor. Oh my gosh, my microphone is falling. I'm gonna have to hold it. So she kind of just gets up and kind of about faces and makes her way back to the people who are waiting for her, who are relying on her for the next moves.
As you about face and move out, you see that your two essentially handmaidens are waiting, your two assistants that they're waiting for you. And they just essentially fall in lock place, yeah. And they follow you. Essentially, if you have any specific things you need to order or anything, but you head back to everyone in the. I will say as well, Sister Rose, you have landed at this point, and you are disembarking from the ship. So you are now back at the convent. You essentially give an order to the squad who had accompanied you. They head off to, stow their gear, prepare for the next mission or anything, and I imagine you make your way to the Canoness Commander, so you'll probably wander in a little bit. But yes, sorry, Canoness Commander. We have a purpose, and it is to go and.
Yes. Okay, so I go back to the lab to reconvene, and sisters, have you found anything?
I imagine they'd probably all look at the Hospitaller at that point.
Since only one person has been investigating here.
No, I've been reading, just probably like pacing. So angry. Like it's more I'm keeping pace with footsteps back and forth and have something in my hand. Just try that I'm not being anything useful than maybe potentially getting in your way.
Dialogue is Lilith. Like... Your footsteps are very soothing. It's like lo-fi in the background.
I would say at a guess that the Dialogus would be able to go through records and maybe glean some information from the records, although it does essentially amount to what you already know or what you've managed to glean. I don't know about Sister Genevigora. I would assume she has very little interest in the minutiae of this situation and is more just on hand, ready to, follow any orders given.
Ready to go kill a bitch.
Yeah.
Just like watching everyone in the room, seeing what they're doing. I'm seeing Dialogus like pace up and down. I think at one point I just go put my hands on my shoulders and just sort of like hold her still in place, but calm yourself. Continue.
And breathe.
When the Canoness Commander returns, Helistri will look up from where she was looking into the research, and will salute, clicking of the heels. We'll say, Canoness Commander, it seems that the Magos was indeed doing research behind our backs on our fellow sisters. He thought that this was just an interesting experiment, and the Inquisitor, as far as I can see, was in it for his own gains. As we already found out, they were trying to make Astartes' sisters happen. They made some progress, but it's too minimal. Nothing they could use right now, but there's a very high possibility that the Inquisitor will want to continue this research in some way. I don't know if he would do that with the Magos, or if he would find someone else to do it with. But I do not think it stops here for them. Logically speaking, as the Magos, someone who has such a need for knowledge, I do not think one like him would just stop at this.
You are correct in that assessment, Sister Helistri. So it is truly treason. It is treason then. It is heresy then. Me talking like
So you have chosen treason against me, the Emperor.
It is actually treason also.
Oh, it's treason too, yeah, for sure.
It's treason then.
It's really, and if he were to continue this, then no one can say if it's 200 or 300 or more sisters that would still fall before they find their answers, perhaps, if they ever find them.
If I can throw in a little bit of... I'd say this is probably more for the Canoness Commander, also the Dialogus, to a degree. But essentially, if this experiment came to light, he would be branded most likely as a renegade, definitely an extremist, and I think likely it would turn almost the entire Imperium against him. Even being an Inquisitor wouldn't really protect him. So you have the reason there as to why he's done the things he's done to like cover it up. the likely reasoning for this, that he's doing this, is to solidify support within the ecclesiarchy. So not only is it a problem that the Inquisitor is probably got to his position with some support in the ecclesiarchy, he's also, doing something that is heretical and extremely objectionable to all of you. It points at a most likely deeper corruption or heresy within the ecclesiarchy as well. Meaning that there are members of the ecclesiarchy, who knows how high up, who have sanctioned and supported this research and this, experiment. So, what I will say is,
Abhorrent.
my guess would be, considering this was a cardinal world, still is a cardinal world, it is religiously very important to the Imperium, and it is your charge to protect it. I would say the assumption of the Inquisitor would be, like, even if all of this happens, you're unlikely to leave your duty of defending the world. However, I will also say that there is a mindset whereby the bigger threat and the bigger heresy would be to allow him to continue. So
Yes.
I'm not suggesting either action is right or wrong. Honestly, both actions make sense for the sisters. So if you want, it may be a good idea to convene a war council to figure out what you want to do.
A war council. Perhaps that is what we need to do. Convene a war council to decide what are our next actions. What has been done here is a greater threat than what could possibly be done on this planet. And that is where our Inquisitor has faltered in thinking that the things he could do for his own interests. Well, little does he know, we don't serve our own interests. We serve a greater purpose. And that greater purpose's interests come before our own. And with that, he will surely falter for this. So we must find a way to go after him while also trying to protect this planet. That is our duty as the Sisters of Pure Intent. We must find a way to protect this planet as to the best we can, but we must also stop this before other planets and other lands suffer for this. We must convene everybody immediately.
I'm assuming that's an order sent to...
Yes, to everybody, really.
Everybody, okay.
Dialogus, to everybody. We like that. That's kind of like an all hands on deck. We're convening, and we're going to plan out our next course of action based on this.
Okay.
Before we leave the room, because I'm assuming that that's like a cue to go gather people and go to another room.
Yes.
Helestri will address the Canoness and say, Canoness Commander, may I ask you that while we have this council and while we figure out what next moves we will make, that we do not allow access into this lab to anyone outside of this group?
I would agree. This must remain between us. What was discovered here, I do not want to get out to everybody else. This is extremely dangerous and threatening information.
Is this because I remember that the Magos has his own ways of locking this place? Is there a way that Helestri could like silly but like have keys and lock the place up or something?
Yes, I would say it probably would more fall down to something the Dialogus would be able to do. Essentially, you can... inverted commas reprogram the servitors, get them up and basically moving around and locking down the area, not letting anyone in unless they have appropriate clearance. Also, just for the record, if you wanted, you can also purge the data, and also if you want, you can download the data. So essentially, you could purge all of the research, but also you could take it down onto like essentially a data slate, kind of like a more handheld place.
Can even I do that, or is that something a Dialogus would have to do?
I would say you'd need help at least from the Dialogus. But yeah,
I imagine that
possible.
was preserving the data was something that I was also looking into while looking at all the records.
Yeah.
So
Could we download it so that we have it, but then purge it?
Absolutely.
I think if the Dialogus agrees with that, that would be Helestri's idea.
Okay.
To download it, then purge it, so that only they have it, and no one else can get it anymore.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be possible to access it. I will say that if your order is essentially caught with it, questions will be asked. As long as you are able to essentially like argue that it's evidence,
You think yeah, that's a good point. You think it would be more beneficial to keep it right now, because then if we don't purge it, there's more evidence that we can basically use.
Well, it's the only record of the Inquisitor's actions, really, aside from your own words, which should go a long way considering your sisters, and would be weird for them to lie. However, you never know. It's always good to have evidence, like solid evidence to back up what you're saying. So yeah, it depends. Like, honestly, with the way things are going, it's looking like the world's going to get overrun. Destroying the evidence, aside from something much more convenient in a data slate that you can just kind of smash, is going to be the best way to have it, but also not let anyone who manages to get in here have access to it. I would say.
Sure.
Okay.
Then the eventual actions are up to the Dialogus, but
downloading for now, and then preserving until
we might
no
need
longer
to leave.
can.
Yeah.
You could probably lock the data slate as well, to a certain level. So
yeah,
essentially, you'd either have to hack it or have access to it if you were, like, say, only the Canoness Commander, maybe Sister Rose, maybe yourself. Like, depends how far you want to go with it. But
if the Canoness does not want anything getting outside of the people that's in this room, that is like the only people that are having that access, and I will do everything within my power to make sure that that is the case.
Okay. In that case, we'll proceed with the research and the more incriminating parts of the data logs downloaded onto a data slate. The data slate locked to essentially only allow access to people within the current, let's call it, knowledge, and the research on the data banks and in the research lab essentially flushed and purged. And I think...
Well, no, we didn't. We agree that we weren't, like, within the actual... Like, we weren't clearing everything out of the research lab. And we weren't purging that yet until it was necessary, right? Just to give us that backup.
In that case, if you're, like, holding on just in case, you could set it up so that you have a command prompt, maybe even in the Canoness Commander's office, that essentially the equivalent of a button where she just slaps it and goes, "Purge everything quickly, go, go, go." It's not a complete foolproof, but it should suffice for kind of like a in case of emergency.
Because, like, we know we're innocent, and I know as sisters that we're innocent, and we would never do something like this, but I still also know that there are people out there that are going to do everything in their power to prove us wrong. So I want to set us up to be in a place that we can prove ourselves right.
I just because you said we know we're innocent. A fun fact: the I was going to say quote, but the motto of the Inquisition in 40k is "Innocence proves nothing." Literally, the Inquisition, the people who like look into whether people are heretical or deserve to be burned at the stake, their motto is "Innocence proves nothing." So it's like, even if you're innocent, if you do heresy, you're still gonna die.
We know we're not the heretics.
Yes. I know I'm not a heretic. But yes, essentially, we will, in that case, shift perspectives to a little bit later, where I would say you have with you all of yourselves, including Sister Rose. Welcome back, Sister Superior.
Thank you, narrator.
You're welcome. The two handmaids, the twins, are essentially, if you need anything done and you don't have a direct order, you can send them scuttling off to organize things. You also have the Cardinal with you. I'm assuming you'd like him there.
Yeah, I suppose he should be.
If I must.
If I suppose he should be informed that this planet is probably not going to survive. Yeah.
Probably.
If the Emperor wills it.
You also have your liaison with the Imperial Guard Regiment. Technically speaking, she can liaise with other Imperial Guard regiments as well, but that is the Oh, you have two representatives actually. Sorry, you have Commissar Rolat, who is a commissar. Essentially, he's been dealing with the PDF mostly, but he liaises with the Imperial Guard. You also have Lieutenant Velvek, who is from the 2nd Kurland Engineers. Both of these people are still in residence on the convent, and so were able to be called in. So, they are present in the meeting as either advisors or to be called on if you need for certain things. What I will tell you is that Lieutenant Velvek will essentially open up things for you by saying that she can, if necessary, divert resources and manpower as needed, as the majority of the defenses have been built already for the Imperial Guard, where they are holding out and where they are going to be fighting.
Okay. The people present in this meeting that we have, would Minerva think it would be safe to discuss the contents of what we discovered in the lab to these people, or is this like, no? Okay.
So I leave it down to your discretion. I would say something of this magnitude of heresy, especially for you as an order and the Sisters Battle in general, it's not something that people should know about, because more people may try it. Or if they know that it's been attempted and gained even a little bit of headway, it's not good for people to...
Okay, yeah, mostly because I am like, my thought is, I'm like, we have to do something about that, but I don't want everybody to know that we're going to do something about it.
I was going to say as well, like, it did kind of happen under your noses.
Yeah.
Which is not, like, in the future, you can be like, we were tricked, we were betrayed. Right now, like best not to muddy the waters. Yeah. Just be like, don't worry about, like, don't tell anyone, don't worry about it. Let's just deal with the current situation. Make sure the bike stops falling. And
I'm assuming I'll be able to like walk in.
I'll say as well, Sister Rose, that you have been brought up to, unless you'd prefer not to, but seeing as she's a URXO.
Yeah, she would know of the contents of what we discovered.
So you've been briefed, and you have an idea that it's not to be discussed in this meeting, but it's a bad thing.
Yep. Okay, so I bring everybody together and I say, it seems the Inquisitor has made the decision to leave us all for ourselves, to fend for ourselves on this planet, and it is no longer to be supported, as we are about to engage in essentially an all-out war on this planet. So with that, we still have our duty as sororitas, as sisters of battle, as a regiment, as a group, to defend this planet, and we will do that. But I also want to see if we can find a means to get as many people out as safely as we can and escape this planet, because it seems the Inquisitor has decided to leave us all for dead. So I bring you all together to discuss our next course of action. We may need some of us to fight, and we may need some of us to begin evacuations.
The Cardinal kind of stands up and looks around for a second and says, I agree with the assessment of Canoness Commander Minerva here. The situation is reasonably dire, and our first thought must be to the people. Therefore, I would like to propose that we remove the Order of Pure Intent from the current command structure and allow them to operate independently with the purpose of defense and evacuation of the population. I believe Lieutenant Velvek can organize matters such that they will be able to clear a landing and embarkment area for our minimal number of ships we have at our disposal. And we can start evacuating the population first here and then off of the planet as much as we will be able to. I suspect with the time frame we are working under, we will not be able to evacuate many of the populace, but even some was better than nothing. And then he sits back down.
Cardinal, it is also important for me to make sure you see it out of here safely. You are an important person that we were tasked to protect. And with that, we will make sure that you have safe passage out of this planet.
I would say that you see a little sort of small smile on his face, and he doesn't say anything, but yes, you're not entirely sure he agrees.
Okay. Agrees as in like...
It's very possible that later he's gonna be like, nope, I'm going down with the ship, and that,
Okay.
Well, with that, I think we need to start planning immediately. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Right off the bat, Lieutenant Velvek stands back up and says, we will be able to clear, as the Cardinal has stated, an area for embarkment and landing of the transport ships available. They will not be heavily effective at the job of evacuation, as we do not have any larger frigates or anything that can be converted into large transportation. Unfortunately, the transports we have are small and not intended for system travel. However, we can retrofit them to fit as many people as possible, to to store food and rations in them, and we should be able to evacuate some of the populace at the very least. I will need a month to retrofit the ships and to gather them in the area here. We should also assume that we'll lose some of them in transit as the invasion begins and proceeds.
I think that would be best, yes. To retrofit them. The more we can get out, the better. How long do we think this will take to organize getting these transport ships and getting people out?
We should be ready to start the evacuation within a month.
Understood. So in the meantime, we have to gather and prepare for fighting. So we should get everybody together and get all hands on deck.
Canoness Commander,
Yes.
shall we call back our dispatchments?
Which dispatchments? With the ones that we have?
Pretty much like any and all that we have out, like on the field.
You have patrols out in the surrounding areas to keep the populace calm and to basically like root out any heresies or anything you can. You have other squads who have either stayed at the hive to help out with the hive or observe the underhive.
We have multiple dispatches out and about, all on different orders. We don't want to be caught unawares and spread so thin.
Give me, Canoness. Isn't the reason that we have these squadrons out in order to sift through the populace, see who would probably be suitable for extrication? Isn't it worth keeping them on their missions for the time being?
I would agree with you, Geneva, but then we would both be wrong.
Jennifer Gora.
Yes. Let's keep them on their routes for now. But we should call them back in the coming days. In the coming weeks, I should say. So for now, keep them patrolled. But let's call them back eventually, when we will need everybody together.
Yes, Canoness.
Okay. In that case, do you have a basic... it seems like we have a basic plan for going forward.
Yeah.
Focus on defense here.
Focus on defense, build up the defense, get the transports ready to get people evacuated, and we'll start fighting and getting ourselves ready. There is one thing, actually. Once we get the greater meeting, I would like to pull my closest, everybody who's involved or who knows of the lab stuff. I would pull them together for a separate meeting following that meeting.
That makes sense. Essentially, the orders are given, and the guests, let's call them, head off to essentially make calls and organize things, and the remaining sisters are kept in waiting for you.
Sisters, you are aware of the things that we've learned that the Inquisitor was researching, experimenting right under our noses. I feel some bits of shame and anguish for not discovering these things earlier. However, this is heresy in the highest degree by somebody who should be entrusted to a high responsibility to better serve the Imperium. And it stirs something within me to know that this is something they were doing, and they cannot get away with this. They did this for their own selfish means. They did not do this to serve the Emperor as they should. We need to take care of it. We need to make sure that no other planets suffer the way ours did, that no other sisters suffer the way ours will. We have a greater purpose in this. That's why we were here. I felt it. We're here. We weren't here simply to defend this planet and keep order. This all happened for a reason. And so we are called to a greater purpose than this planet. We must stop it from going any further. So with that, I think we need to get a small group of us to evacuate the planet and hunt down the Inquisitor and make sure he is brought to justice for what he did. We have the evidence. We have everything we need. We just need to find him and take him down. So once the evacuations begin and we have all of our defenses set in place to defend the planet, we should get a small evac of us to get out and find him. Does everybody understand?
Understood, Canoness Commander. It shall be done.
This is now our highest purpose, is to find this Inquisitor and make sure that he does not experiment for his own means on anybody else.
Canoness, may I volunteer myself for leading the evacuation of the populace?
Yes, Sister Genevagora. That would be most helpful if you could lead that. Thank you.
Thank you, Canoness.
Okay. And at that, you're all sent about your duties. Sister Genevagora, you start essentially mostly guarding the fortress, the outside walls of the convent, which has now been started to be reinforced, and will over time get bigger and more defensy and bigger walls, etc. And making sure that any refugees, anyone kind of like fleeing the battles, are found and checked and then brought in and, put in the right place. Sister Halestri, you will essentially, I imagine, be setting up everything in preparation for a large-scale siege battle. Essentially making sure that you have a good, clear area to bring the wounded, to fix them up and send them back out.
Yeah, depending on how much time we pass here, I think she will divide her attention between those tasks. Definitely make sure it's in order, but free moments that she has, she will go back to the laboratory.
Okay. I would say, given the situation, it's probably a good idea to have a hospitaller essentially in charge of the wounded, the hospital, let's call it. My question will be, would Sister Halestri prefer to stay with the command squad and prioritize that with the Canoness? Or would she be assigned to basically be in charge of the Medicaid station or building? I think that's probably a question for Helestri and for the Canoness commander, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, Canoness Minerva definitely thinks Helestri has served this greater purpose. So would want her to join us in this, as she was the one who first had suspicions, who did a lot of the research. I think that she would like her to stay, but if Helestri felt so strongly I feel like my purpose is still serving people in the infirmary or things like that, that, it could be debated, but she would like her to stay.
Yeah, no. I think it's the same thought process of also the fact that if she stays with the command squad, she will still have opportunities to be busy with that, and she would very much like to be there when they finally get the Inquisitor. So I definitely think there's a lot of other experienced Hospitallers who she would appoint to be the head leading everything in the convent for the battle that is to come and the evacuation and stuff.
Okay. Dialogus, essentially you will be dealing with everyone. I would imagine I imagine, as to best of your ability, you'll be trying not to let too much of it spill over to the Canoness Commander. She's essentially got a water run now. But yeah, you're going to be liaising with anyone she needs to. You're going to be talking to Imperial Guard officers. You're going to be talking to nobles and generals and hive leaders and all of those type of things. So I would say you're probably the one away the most.
Okay.
In these instances, and Sister Superior Rose, I mean, you're still the XO, so you're essentially taking place, either following Minerva around or carrying out her orders, that things she needs to get done. So,
as it should be.
As it should be. I wonder how much Rose picked up on the slight imposition that Jennifer Gora was essentially saying that, she kind of supplanted herself in there and was like, hey, I'm gonna be your XO for a while, yay.
Sister Rose appreciates Gora's approach, but would love to see her departure.
Damn.
Interesting that she tried to put herself on the most important aspect of the defense immediately. Just, I don't know.
I like the way she tries.
Fight.
All right.
We never get on the bad side of
Oh no.
Mr. Rose.
Definitely not.
Okay.
She knew it instantly when she walked into that room. She's just like, all right, okay, that's my squad. All right, that's my Canoness commanded that.
Side eye.
There's one thing in this picture in this room that does not belong.
One of these things just doesn't belong here. One of these things trying to take my job. All right.
Invited me back. She got my name wrong.
Twice. She called you Gora as well.
Oh my gosh.
She doesn't like
Find me to
Geneva.
correct her.
Fine, Gora that is. All right. So, in that case, we're going to fade out on essentially the sisters. A small little montage of the sisters starting to organize things, to do their jobs. We see Sister Superior Minerva Galatiya, checking people out, making sure that they are legitimate before letting them in. It's essentially seeing to the immediate defenses there. Sister Halestri organizing the clearing station, the aid station, the hospital, essentially. In between, occasionally running off to go and poke her nose into heresy and biology and all those type of things. We see Sister Superior Rose and Canoness Commander Minerva like stalking through the halls, kind of like shouting orders, and it's probably like Canoness Commander has like a few like stacks of books and papers and things, looking very like weighed under and hectic. Occasionally like whispering something, and then Sister Rose immediately like veering off and shouting at people, like giving the orders that Canoness Commander's like requesting or saying that she needs. And just for the sake of it, because it amuses me so, probably we see the Dialogus Savant's Sister Lilith sitting in a room with waffling old men in like military uniforms and things like that, with the deadest look in her eyes, just like staring at the wall, like yeah.
Watching paint dry. She's really excited when she gets to talk to the generals and like get out of this room. But the minute that you've put her in this room, she's literally like, I'll help with the battle.
Yeah.
No, okay.
And so we fade on this little montage, and we will fade back in a month from then. Actually, to highlight something quickly, we quickly, at the end of that montage, we fade into the sun shining down on the planet. The camera is in orbit around the planet, kind of looking towards the sun as the light is being shone towards the planet. And then, as it slowly gets darkened and eclipsed by the multitude of chaos ships, invasion ships heading towards the planet, as they start to fire up their thrusters, go into orbit, and then head down towards the landing, the planetary guns of the hives of the planet start opening up. And we see like multiple ships exploding into nothingness. The planetary guns take out hundreds of ships. But it still doesn't put a dent in the number landing. And even for the next week, those ships keep on landing. The forces of chaos keep on landing. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, Hive Calliades, the capital, every single hive city, of which there is around 7 or 8 of them on the planet, get surrounded and besieged. Attempts are made by the Imperial Guards to break out. Attempts are made for them to break out, for them to basically open up lines of supply. Even occasional attempts are made to move the population via transports. Some are shot down, some are not. And it essentially, over the course of this period of time, the world is either falling into the hands of chaos, or is starting to be besieged. Now, I believe there was a conversation that wanted to be... Yes. Sister Minerva Galatiya, you have a thing you want to do as we're going through this.
Yes, so I'd probably leave my group to continue vetting the population, seeing who meets the criteria to be evacuated, and I think they're doing a good enough job that I'm going to try and find Sister Rose for a moment just to speak with her.
Most likely you'll find the sister running around the grounds, maybe leading training, or maybe just shouting at people who arguably need to be shouted at.
Why not both?
Or both.
Sister Superior, do you have a moment?
Sister Genagora,
Jennifer
I
Gora.
believe. Genevagora. How can I, help you?
I just wanted to say how nice it is to have you back after you were away in the hives. I hope it wasn't too strenuous of a time for you. as I'm
Why
sure
would
the-
it be strenuous?
As I'm sure the Canoness said, I act as your interim during your absence. I just wanted to pass on some notes that I had. Your squad, they might benefit from some further training when we were out with the Astartes. I noticed that some of them were slightly inadequate in their performances.
Inadequate? That's, very interesting. Especially coming from such a source. I will, take it to note.
I'm so glad to hear you're willing to accept feedback.
Of course. How is one to grow as a sister?
I thought exactly.
Yes, well, I regard you with a bit of indifference. Borderline aversion, if I'm honest. When will you be leaving our lovely convent? Surely your stay is little past its expiration.
Unfortunately not. You see, I received such high recommendation from the Astartes, and Canoness was so grateful for me being able to step up and fill your shoes whilst you're away. I think she's quite fond of having you around, so no time soon.
I see the Emperor has a sense of humor, but you are proof of it. Don't worry, I don't consider you a netherworm. I consider you something the netherworm eats. I'm sure we will see a lot of each other in the coming times.
I cannot wait. And even though your attempts to bruise my ego with your bashful tones, it can only make me think to quote the Book of Imperium, the Emperor's light against which no darkness can stand. I hope you don't cast too much of a shadow.
Your inferiority complex is fully justified, sister.
Well, I wouldn't want to take you away from your squad much longer. They need, more training. I shall leave you to it. Thank you, Sister Rose. And she will sort of turn on her heel and walk away without clicking her heels.
And I will turn and I will look at the other sisters who are kind of like staring, because I'm assuming they're kind of staring like, what the heck? And she'll look at him. Back to training now, lest you be left for dead.
Okay. Just want to say, next time on Dawson's Convent. James said he was taking me to the prom.
The Emperor said it's my turn on the Xbox.
Canoness, tell her she's wrong.
The Canoness likes me more. I
You
got
have
to
no-
hold her notebook.
You
I
have
got
to
to
choose
shine her
Canoness.
boots.
He made me a friendship bracelet.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. I probably won't do it, but if anyone does want to do it, a like sisters in training show under the premise of like a like a kind of like high like Mean Girls kind of like setup.
I love that.
I'm just saying that could be interesting.
That is a great idea.
I don't think I have the chops to do it, but
I feel like sisters, not only are they extremely deadly with their weapons and training, but they're also extremely deadly with their words. So this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I
We're all straight faced and stuff, and then afterwards we're like,
I'm
It's like
just
trying to hold face while seeing the other four going like,
yeah.
I just pop into camera and I'm like, oh, shit going down.
I'm just saying it could also be a musical as well.
yes, please.
Yeah.
You know, Savvy and I are in. I got my jazz hands ready.
So, moving on from there, the situation we come back into is the hive cities have been surrounded. The majority of the surroundings of the hive cities have started to come under the control of the insidious, nefarious forces of chaos. As the populace starts to flee from those areas, there is word coming from the other Imperial Guard regiments that a reasonably sizable force is moving towards the convent, partially as it is of note on the planet. It is an important area, but also because they are following the refugees who are running away from the hives. So essentially, likely in the future, you are having an influx of refugees, and right behind them, you're having an influx of horrific chaos cultists who want to kill you. So those will be
Yay!
those are
They
coming
murder.
on the way. I will say, we will fade in to the Canoness Commander, have in her office having received a transmission from the first evacuation ship. One of the evacuation ships has been finished, has been filled with civilians, with refugees, and has now that the invasion force has mostly trickled off, there are a few like kind of little patrol ships from the enemy forces like in the area, but they were mostly guarding the escorting the invasion fleet. They're now kind of like in different places. You're able to map them out and to plot an evacuation course, basically taking you away from the planet, away from the conflict, and back towards Imperial space. It'll take them time to get there, but the transmission runs... This is... Oh, apologies. I don't have my thing on. There it is. This is evacuation ship Pioneer to Canoness Commander Minerva. We have made good progress and avoided all enemy fleets. However, we have logged a couple of frigates at the edge of the system, right in our prepared flight path. We will update as and when possible. We will keep heading on current bearing, but we should be intercepted by them in the next couple of hours.
Well, I guess I don't know if Minerva would know this, but I should ask. Do we know what these frigates are?
There are ships in the area. Essentially, they would be
Are they friendly or hostile? Is really what I'm.
They would probably be Imperial Navy.
Okay.
So friendly.
Okay.
Most likely they'd be part of a advance scouting part of a blockade, essentially making sure that Chaos ships don't go from
Okay.
essentially to make sure that the Chaos ships don't go further into Imperial space, so they
Okay.
can spot them, intercept them, and blow them up.
Okay. Well, let me know if they have anything to report once you intercept. Thank you.
Yes, Mom. With that said, I will let you know that the current reports that are present for you on your desk indicate that Hive Palladius is unfortunately looking like it's going to fall reasonably soon. The tactical readouts you have indicate that they should last another couple of weeks. You know what? Let's have another one of those lovely rolls, shall we? Could you give me, I would say, either a scholar, leadership, or cunning roll, please? Each of those will give you slightly different information, as always.
Okay.
Your choice as to which ones you want to use.
I mean, I'm always a fan of rolling leadership.
Yeah?
So I'm gonna do that.
Makes
Let's
sense.
see.
2. Okay. In that case, you suspect that they're going to fall a little bit sooner than that. You give it about a week. The projection doesn't take into account the low morale of the city or the multiple places that Chaos have already taken over. Like, they've already taken the Underhive. If they can find ways up from the Underhive into the full hive, into the hive proper, let's say, all it will take is a few incursions. They don't have enough forces. They don't have enough organization. And so, with those things in mind, like, it's got about a week and it will probably fall. I would say it's down to Sister Minerva, but you can probably pretty much write the hive off.
Yep, it's a shame that this had to happen, but
However, there is a small bright side, let's call it, if you can call it that, which is that the Underhive had been either eradicated or starved or basically dispossessed of its population before Chaos got to it. So it didn't end up being a recruiting ground for Chaos.
well, that's the one silver lining among this, is that less chaos, the better. But still unfortunate the hive had to fall this way.
The other hives have all been reporting that with the assistance of the Imperial Guard, especially in the fortifications, they are managing to hold. However, the Chaos forces have brought in reasonably effective, let's call them siege weapons, essentially fairly decent artillery. And the hives are projecting probably another month of being able to hold out. There's a couple of hives that are doing better, that have slightly better armaments. The capital is doing decently. Can probably hold out for a couple of months at least. But yeah, they're saying probably about another month they can manage to hold out and have put in essentially clearance or requests for everyone to sign off on. Something that even though you're still separated from the command structure so you can operate independently, you do still have a say in this. They are asking for permission to purge parts of their population they worry might fall under Chaos or might be recruited by Chaos if they fall.
At this point, we can't really take any chances. If even a glimmer of chaos may be present, we cannot let it flourish. This planet cannot take any more, and we have a lot more that we have to deal with. So, Sister or Commander Minerva would recommend they purge if they even have the smallest detection.
Which unfortunately falls in line with the majority of the other commanders, generals, and leaders of the hives, which means that we have just signed off on millions of people dying with a very quick, like, yep, tick. I love the idea that Commander Minerva just like ticks a box like with a green pen, just like, yep, let's do it.
Oh God! Welcome to
Just
the
a couple of
41st millennium,
sacrifices for the
everybody.
greater good. You know, just nothing, just a couple sacrifices. Not a whole lot, you know. I mean, in the end, it's for the Emperor and his light. You know, praise be.
Blood for the blood god.
You know.
Oh, all right now.
Skull for the skull throne.
Excuse. No.
Huh? What?
There's only one.
There's only
John's
one. There's only
emperor.
one Emperor. Our enemy is true, and they are the tech priests.
Honestly, one of the worst case scenarios that you could have here is that the hives fall before being destroyed, and then the populations of those hives are added to the forces of chaos.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Some of the
bad.
some of the planets that fell to chaos were agri worlds and, you know, feudal worlds and places that are A, more susceptible, and B, a lot less populated. Like on those type of worlds, you're talking sometimes in the low millions. On a planet like this, you're talking like billions. You're talking like, you know, a lot of people.
It still blows my mind the amount of people in Warhammer 40k. Like it's just
Oh,
like you have bajillions of people and they die every day, you know? So I'm like, geez.
Oh yeah. So honestly, like, while from our perspective that sucks, from the perspective of 40k, like,
it's another day, you know?
consider chaos almost like a zombie plague. Like, if you let everyone live, then you just have a whole load more zombies who
It's true.
turn up.
You have to cut out that infection. So cut it out.
With those things organized and signed off on, we are now at the point where I think, unless anyone else has anything else to report, or to discuss, you know, any orders to go out, anything to get done, I would say the next thing that happens is you are informed via the probably one of the hives, which was using its apparatus to keep an eye on space, that the signal of the pioneer ship has disappeared. Likely it has been destroyed, all hands lost.
Great. Well, okay.
Which means that the blockade has been instructed to most likely destroy all ships headed from this area. Most likely the area has been designated as completely lost and quarantined and essentially a hive of heresy, and anyone heading in this direction is a heretic.
Okay. just Minerva at this point. All right. Any new news that comes in, it's like,
it's
Minerva
like,
is sitting there in the morning with her little cup of tea, and it's just like a shaking hand. Just like, yeah, all right, good.
oh my God.
I imagine you can probably extract what happened here. The Inquisitor, like, essentially declared it to be blockaded and to not let anyone alive through. And not let anyone through alive.
So does that hinder like any ship that leaves?
Well, I would say there are a few exceptions. If you're traveling with ciphers of a respected or large organization, then you can, Especially, if it was Astartes, if it was the Inquisition, maybe Imperial Guard Regiment. I will say the Imperial Guards regiments have resolved to see the fight out here. So aside from possibly a general, but even the generals would stay. So
Okay. So that means like even getting like people out, they're gonna be gunned down or something. Like,
well, so you can allow for that. Essentially to try and avoid the blockade and the scout ships.
okay, so we basically just have to.
Not only do you have to avoid chaos, you also have to avoid the Imperium if you want to.
All right. Well, I would say this info that Minerva is getting, she does relay to,
Call it like the command squad.
The command squad. As all these things as they come in, like she'll deal with it, then she'll give the report of what's, so everybody's kind of informed of what's. She's not keeping it to herself.
Okay.
Go hunt down the Inquisitor, they said. It'll be easy, they said.
I mean, if he's gonna swing his authority around a little bit and be like, no one's allowed through here alive, because then it might get out what happened.
Yeah, it might.
We'll see if it does.
We wouldn't want
It
that.
I would also say at this point there is minimal reason to have any of the sisters basically traveling outside of the convent at this point. Unless you have something very specific, it would be, I'd say at this point, it'd be about a 50-50 chance that any of the sisters would come back. There's too much chaos on the world, and they've got too much, like, anti-air and things like that, So my guess would be, for the past few days at the very least, the Dialogus has not been going out and relaying and etc. You're relying on your lines of communication staying up, and the hope that essentially you can maintain, those types of communications. Unless, of course, you want to risk the wonderful Elbel. You risk her life on a 50-50. With that said, before we push further into things happening, are there any things that people would like to do, any conversations that people would like to have, or feel like would be pertinent? And not completely because I would like to go to the toilet.
Oh shit, yeah, no, I can't help you there. I was gonna just inform, but I don't need a conversation.
You needed a GM, not a conversation with a player. Okay.
Well, no,
another round of like insults.
Oh, wait,
hey, I think everyone would be down for a bit more of that if you want to just,
You know what? We'll give Sheepy his toilet break by I'll say what I have been doing, and then Jennifer Gora can have another round with Rose. How does that sound?
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Let's check in with the Hospitaller.
No. I don't, unless someone else wants to make a conversation about it. I feel like Helestri would be spending a lot of time, first of all, like getting the lab back in order that the Magos had. Eventually, once all the sisters are like, all information has been gotten out of the dead sisters that they could have. I imagine that they gave them like I don't know if the sisters do a proper like burial, but at least they would not be sitting on a slate in a lab anymore. And throughout the weeks of preparation, Helestri would be spending all the free time that she would have in that lab looking over that research, because this is definitely heresy. the things that the Magos did and the things that the Inquisitor are doing, they're not right. But in a certain way, Helistri has always had the kind of mindset of, well, if I can learn from this, like, we learn more about what we're up against. And also in a way, I feel like for a hospitaller who's very interested in all the biological stuff, the idea of having a sister that is superhuman, the idea of being able to basically improve the sisters even more, like because as I said, like for the Magos, it may not have been a new step of evolution, but in some way, I don't think it's weird to say that for Helistri, it might seem like possible new step of evolution. For the sisters to get to this point, but I don't think she's very much looking over the research and just thinking of how she could move forward without having to like do the stupid thing of, oh, like 200 more sisters will have to be subjugated to this. Like that's just insane. But I do think that she would have been spending a lot more time in the lab and with the data slate and just doing that. But she wouldn't be telling anyone this. Like if there would ever come something up, she would like be able to give it an explanation of like, I want to know what we can like accuse the Inquisitor of and stuff like that. So yeah, Sheepy basically said how Helistri is looking into heresy and being intrigued by heresy herself. Yeah.
Okay. Another radical for the, See, what's going to happen is we're going to fast forward like a year, and she's going to be the right-hand man for the Inquisitor.
No. I specifically said she's looking into this stuff, but she doesn't want to go the way that the Inquisitor was of like, oh, I will sacrifice like 200 sisters for this just to work. Like, she wants to try and be smarter, but that's definitely not at this stage, because at this stage she's just looking at options and just looking at everything that has been done so far.
And I assume you do all of this kind of in private, like...
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Because she's smart enough to know like this is heresy, and that's why if at any point she is in the lab, she will justify it by saying like she got well, they keep this little what happened in the lab, they kept it between the little group of them. And so she would say like, I'm the only one here who, well, as the only hospitaller in the group, I would understand more what they were actually doing, what they were trying to get at. And then she would want to like, say like, oh, I can then use this knowledge to throw it in the Inquisitor's face, and we can like make a more sound basis for our like inquisition, you could say. But she would be doing that like a bit more privately.
Okay.
Imagine her going to sleep at night with like the data slate underneath her pillow.
The heresy is seeping out of the data plate. It's affected her.
Sister Rose comes to talk to her at one point in her room, and she's like, do you smell that? Oh no, for a second I thought I smelled heresy. And then like Helistri going, no, of course not, Sister Superior. I would be able to smell that.
I'm the one who smells.
I'm the one who smells heresy, not you, me.
Yeah. So that's a little insight there. And now on to the bitch fight.
Well, I am back, so you don't have to if you don't want another round of clashing. Is that something you would like to revisit? Do you think that there would be a standout incident, or?
I mean, I think it's like, if anything, Sister Rose would be on her way to see Canoness Commander Minerva. So, I mean, like, it would be possible that they run into each other, but she would probably be accompanied by Helistri or even Sister Lilith at some point. Like, because at least, if anything, Sister Rose sympathizes for dear Sister Lilith's position and where she's been put.
I would say, actually, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sister Lilith, but I feel like at this point, with you being unable to essentially carry out your job as Dialogus, because there's just not that much opportunity to diplomacy and, you know, emissary.
If I'm not needing to do a bunch of that stuff within the convent, then
I'd say
I'm probably helping set up battle plans. Like I'm doing everything I can to insert myself and be like, see, I'm useful here.
Yeah, I'd say that would actually probably lead to you taking the other position with the Canoness Commander, weirdly. Like, essentially becoming a second to Sister Rose. Like, you
I
know,
go fetch Sister Lilith
yeah.
so that Sister Lilith and I may go and devise plans with Canoness Commander Minerva.
So good at it too.
So at this point, to kind of cover all the bases as things are starting to look a bit more dire, all of the squads of sisters, you have around about I can't remember the initial number I gave you. I think it was 500. But regardless, you have all of your sisters back. The majority of them are doing a mixture of training and essentially guarding. So you have sisters up on the walls. The walls have been extended, reinforced, and any more heavy artillery weapons that can be found and put up there are put up there. You have a couple of tanks. There are a couple of tanks on loan from the Imperial Guard that the lieutenant was able to procure for you, and you have your own Adepta Sororitas tank, and obviously some transport vehicles and so on and so forth, and then just, you know, mortars and heavy bolters and any kind of like heavy weaponry you can get, even rocket launchers, things like that as well. And with that said, I think the next thing that we will fade in on is the alarm being sounded as refugees and further behind that, enemy forces are spotted and scouted on the horizon, causing all of the sisters to essentially assume battle stations and to, I'm guessing, like, I don't want to step on the toes of Canoness Commander Minerva. I'm assuming it's essentially like up and at 'em on the walls, all of the sisters and any
Call
other
to arms.
like.
Yeah, immediate. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, for the sake of this, the sisters, the call goes out, the hymns begin. Essentially, you have like loudspeakers across the area of the cathedral, of the convent, and the war hymns are starting to play. The sisters are gearing up into their armor, getting their weapons and loading them. In this instance, you do have things like flamers and melters. Seeing as it's unlikely they're immediately going to try and like break in and engage in hand-to-hand combat, the majority of you, I will assume, have anything that's a bit more long range, so like a bolter, things like that. And obviously there are heavy weapons around. If you want to jump on a heavy weapon and have fun with that, feel free. So I will say that unless you want to specifically state it, I would say at the very least, Sister Genevigora, Sister Rose, and Sister Lilith are in command of sections of the walls, essentially able to relay the commander's orders to the squads around them and to just basically have a, you know. So, my first question is what order disseminates down from the Canoness Commander as the refugees are charging in and as the forces of chaos are charging in? Essentially, what you will see is a big swath of infantry with reasonably sufficient armor following behind, and a few other, larger pieces of heresy, let's call it.
By the Emperor's light, it has been brought here now, too. Sisters, we must go. Sound the hymns. We must stand strong. In his name, purge the unclean. His will be done through your bolter and through your blade. Go, now.
Freaking yelling so loud.
So loud the Zoom compression.
Compression goes completely in. Bye-bye.
Okay. With that, you are all essentially ready and prepared. What are the rules of engagement here? Are you going to try and hold to let the refugees in and then start firing? Are you going to begin?
God.
You do have some heavy artillery. So...
I was gonna say, let's fire whatever versions of trebuchets and things. I pictured those in the background, pew, over the refugees, and then as they get closer, then we can go in with the bolters and everything.
Okay.
But
so you're not holding off the fire. Essentially, it's like.
Yeah. Not necessarily looking to instantly kill all refugees that are trying to get safety. Yeah.
But also, you want to hit the enemy as hard and as soon as possible.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, as the refugees are coming in, it is a fairly large wave of them. Obviously, they are in smaller groups, and they're all. Some of them are in vehicles, so a few come to the area quicker. The basilisks, essentially a type of Imperial Guard artillery tank, start to open up. There are two of them. It's what could be arranged and brought here. Start opening up with essentially the best way to describe it would be attempting to target and relay and target the best areas for maximum damage. You're not looking to suppress them. You're not looking to lay down covering fire for the refugees. The attempt here is to explode as many as possible with each shot, and that is what is currently going on now. I would say most likely, seeing as that the refugees are headed for a specific place, the refugees are going to be headed for where Sister Genevigora is overseeing the front, the entrance. My question here, Sister Genevigora, is A, do you maintain the current standards of letting people in, given that the refugees are being followed by chaos? The chaos forces are reasonably far behind, close to them. The first ones will be in vehicles. You'll have time to check them. As time goes on, you'll have less and less time to check them before letting them in.
We'll keep on letting them in and check as many as we can until we're at the point in which we have to stop.
Okay. At that point, I will check in with you again, and you can tell me what you do. Past that, Dialogus Lilith, Sister Superior Rose, your forces begin to open fire as the first refugees reach the gate, and some of the front runners of the chaos forces make it to you. We're talking buggies, bikes, the more maneuverable, faster things start to move in, and you see, for example, you, Sister Rose, you see a couple of heavily scarred, tattooed, grotesque looking guys on this monstrosity-looking bike that's just like it goes towards you and then starts to kind of like it kind of turns and spins. The one on the back has some form of like small arm rifle type thing that just like essentially not accurate. Peppers the wall a little bit, and there's a little bit of shouting. Maybe kills a few of the refugees they managed to kind of run down.
Can I blast the hole in it?
Sure. Would you like to use anything in particular?
I would like to use my special gun.
Which gun is that?
I named it the Crucifier.
Okay. Is it a bolt gun?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, it's not just the bolt gun. It's the, what's it called? It's like the electric or whatnot, like bolt gun. It's, oh my gosh. I just blinked on it.
Oh my god, Kat, are you even a real Warhammer
I'm
fan?
not a... I'm
Incredible.
I can't even be a real Warhammer fan. I'm sorry.
Coming from you, Syrinx, it's...
Unbelievable. Incredible.
I do believe one of your earlier quotes is this a heresy?
Is it... I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
The one that pops into my head is a stalker bolter. Is that a stalker
no,
baton
it was
bolter?
or was it a storm? Was it a storm?
Oh, storm bolter.
bolter.
There,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
sorry.
like storm
Oh,
something,
yeah.
lightning something.
The lightning confused me. I was thinking it was firing lightning bullets.
Like lightning, thunder, and lightning.
So yeah, in that case, what you'd probably do, like the storm bolter, isn't necessarily long ranged. However, given a decent amount of bracing, it doesn't matter how long ranged it is as long as the bullets reach. So you essentially kneel down with you rest your storm bolter with the top of your arm on top of it to kind of like stop as much of the kickback as you can, and just depress the trigger, and it just goes like, because it fires double bullets because it's a storm bolter, and just. You could say it's overkill. However, you do still kill the bike and the people. Like, there are...
When it comes to purging heresy, dear narrator, there is no such thing as overkill.
That is extremely true, and I will say 10 emperors, 10 Hail Emperors an apology. The bolts from the bolt gun start exploding like around and a little bit behind where the bike is. However, with just a fairly simple kind of like shift and slide, you adjust your fire without stopping, and the bullets like start chasing the bike as the bike is like kicking up dust and like moving around to the side of you. The bullets start like hitting closer and closer, just catch up, like catch a wheel. The bike starts to kind of like swerve a little bit, and then the bullets hit and just explode. Something catches there, probably some of the promethium, to be honest, and ignite and explode. The bike flips in the air, you know, typical like cinematic stuff. The two guys like catch on fire, land. You know, one of them's not quite dead, like lifts his head up, and then the camera just sees the bike land on top of him in like a burning twist of metal.
I love the smell of melting heresy in the morning.
Melting heresy is, of course, a drink that can be found at any sister's cocktail bar. I believe there's some type of chocolate involved. I think the sisters would consider melted chocolate heresy. You know, it's definitely an indulgence.
Heresy of the delicious kind.
Heretically delicious as the fold. You know.
Heretically delicious.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy.
So, Dialogus, on your front, essentially the some of the kind of, let's call them trucks, they're troop transport carriers, start pulling up. Kind of, you're on one of the sides of this wall, this kind of fortress that's been built up, and the sisters around you via, commands have opened up fire and are. One of the trucks, catches a little bit of fire. One of the tires gets one of the tires gets burst, and it kind of swerves a second and then skids over. Like, heretics are like flung out the back of this truck and go sprawling in the sand. Like, as they start to get up, they just get peppered and cut down. A couple of the other trucks kind of burn forward. The troops jump out under fire. A couple of them go down. Like, explosion to the leg, like a bullet in the head, etc. And they kind of start using the trucks as cover, and you see this kind of you see this kind of like strange movement around the back of the trucks. Like, it looks like they're doing something, until the trucks get like pushed and flipped over, so that they're on their sides, kind of like presenting a solid barrier, as some of the heretics start like peeking around the corners and firing off snapshots. I think probably as you're like standing there, I want you to have a cloak, because then it could be flapping in the wind imperiously.
Do we have like, so in terms of weapons, do we have like, I'm thinking like a bazooka, like holy hand grenade that just like rains fire on everything and explodes as much as possible, probably hopefully hitting the gas tank and also igniting that on fire, so then there's continuing more explosions.
So as you are standing,
and I would love to be the one
I've got
who
you.
just grabs that gun, says nothing. No, like I'm like, all of the awful conversations that I've had to sit through, all the paint that I've watched dry, is fueled into this one rocket.
So you're
raining down in fire.
You're standing there overseeing the sisters who are pouring fire on there. However, the fire, even some of the heavier weapons, aren't really penetrating the like reinforced hull of this or floor of this truck. At this point, one of the sisters, who is essentially like kind of like a gopher for you, she's a novitiate, initiate. She runs up to you carrying this like really like long kind of bazooka, missile launching looking thing, and it's a little bit too big for her, but she comes up kind of carrying it like, and she says, "Dialogus." And you like turn your head and you see her kind of like holding this out to you.
You just see an extra little twinkle in my eye as I say nothing. Like there's no words for my joy of taking them down. And I grab the giant bazooka and I aim it at the gas tank, knowing what explosion this will give. And
like
that tank continuing. Oh yeah, like there's just like a comfort. Like it's like I've done this so many times and it's like unspoken of just getting into it and being like, and setting my stance. And then I let fire.
Press the button. Do you have a one-liner? Is this an Arnie moment? There's
so much joy that there's no line that could meet the fulfillment of watching this explode.
Okay. And the missile flies out the front, goes and just impacts into one of the trucks and just ignites whatever fuel's left in there, causes this kind of like massive explosion, which essentially engulfs the people hiding behind it in a fireball. And they obviously this will need to be repeated because there are more trucks coming, but
oh darn.
The battle has been initiated, and you have drawn first blood, if we don't count the hundreds and possibly thousands of civilians who've died on the way here. But that's not important, we don't count them. I would say, as the battle starts to take form, you're going to see essentially the Chaos Forces roll in vehicles to begin with and start to form barricades to start to return fire in an mixed attempt to keep your heads down and to essentially cause any casualties they can. Canoness Commander, I'll tell you that in the initial phases of this battle, there are no casualties on your side, aside from some injuries. You know, a stray bullet, some ricochet. I'd say, Sister Helestri, you probably have to deal with, you know, maybe like a face wound where some part of the I can't remember the name for the concrete, plasteel. Some plasteel has like chipped off from fire and like cut a face, you know, like.
So like at more than a month has passed since we found out all about the betrayal and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Can I like just say that throughout the month that maybe Helestri has gotten like a little bit more insight into like sisters like biological like so like I think that helps with the Medicaid stuff on the field, where it's like just a tiny bit more she like better understands what she can do to improve and like get them up faster from certain injuries.
You know what? That's a very good point, and I had not considered that the intricate details of the research would help you with your medical stuff. Please move your Medicaid up one.
Ooh.
Look, heresy is good for something.
Yeah,
guys.
heresy helps you learn.
Now.
Wow.
But yes, as the forces get closer and more of them make it to, let's call it the battle lines, they start to dig in, and some of the more intricate equipment is set up further back, out of range of your artillery or your heavier weapons. It looks like they may be constructing some form of siege weaponry to start shelling you back. So keep that in mind. With that said, like the majority of them come into engage at about a decent range for their weaponry. You've got las guns, you've got auto guns, you know, the traditional stuff, heavy bolters, even a couple of auto cannons, which autocannons are overkill. Just unless you're fighting a tank or something, autocannons are overkill. Autocannons are it's like automatic artillery basically. Just, you know, pointed as opposed to indirect. So my first question, I guess, will have to head to the commander. Commander, they are setting up trench lines outside. They are setting up essentially they are settling in to lose as minimal forces as they can manage while maintaining a siege and holding until they either break the walls and have places to essentially charge in, or either, you know, starve you out, ammunition you out, you know, things along those lines. Would you like to take any actions against them, or would you prefer to hold? I'm happy to give some like tactical insight. We can even do a roll if you want.
Yeah, let's see if there's anything that I can assess from the field that we could do alternatively to just holding.
I will say this instead of the usual give me this or give me that. Your choice of role, whatever you think will help you with your tactical decisions. Okay. Also, if you'd like to ask the other sisters to roll for you to give more insight, please do feel free. All of them can help in different ways, and all of them will have different insights for you.
Yeah.
So feel free to be like, Dialogus, you know, what the hell? Like, give me some help.
Right. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking. Oh man. Like maybe one of these weapon, like ballistic skill or weapon, like one of the weapon skills to determine if there's any artillery that we currently have that might be useful rather than just, you know, starving out. I actually have pretty high ballistic skill and weapon skill, so
Ballistic skill would be the choice. Weapon skill is melee.
okay, yeah. I'm gonna roll that. Since
For those who can't see because the rolls aren't up,
one,
the Canoness Commander rolled a 1 on the ballistic skills, unfortunately.
but my
would-
rating is 3, so it was.
You rolled 6 dice, so you had a good
Yes.
chance. Would you like to essentially get frustrated with trying to figure it out and
Yes, perhaps ask.
ask one of the other sisters to?
Yes, maybe Commander Rose. She has a lot of tactical intuition. So, Sister Superior Rose, can you assess the field and see if there's other means rather than just starving them out? We'll be
Yes,
here
Commander.
much longer. Maybe there's a quicker way to deal with this.
Okay. Sister Superior, would you please? Rose, sorry. So I forgot there was another Sister Superior here currently.
For
Hey,
now.
hey, Gora, how's it going? A ballistic.
What would you like me to roll?
A ballistic skill test, please. Oh,
Ballistics? Or would it be... Would it be investigate? Well, not really investigation. Or well, could it be insight? Too, or is it...
I would say.
Or would it just be ballistics?
I would say ballistic skill would be the choice on this specific one. Okay, 2 successes is pretty good. So I will say the main concern you have looking over the battlefield, the people in the trenches can be reached by your artillery, the 2 basilisks, and even mortars and heavy weapons. So as long as you are reasonably cautious with your ammunition, you should last a good long while. Most likely long enough to get the rest of the transport ships refitted and set up properly. However, you know, like, obviously at some point you're going to run out of ammunition, but you're well stocked, you were well prepared, so that shouldn't be for a fair while. The main concern you have is if they manage to bring their artillery to bear and it outdistances your artillery, you're going to be receiving indirect fire on an almost constant basis with no real way to, like, deal with it. That's essentially the problem you're going to have to bring to the sister. And also additionally, like, they will likely be having more forces turn up. If they bring more long-range artillery, it's going to be a compounding problem. So that's essentially what gets reported to you, Commander.
To me, Commander, or
Sorry, to you, Commander Minerva.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then I guess we can just do that then. Yeah.
I would say it might be worth coming up with a strategy or assigning one of your subordinates to come up with a strategy to deal with it when they have set up the long-range artillery. But until then, you're like...
Okay. Yes, then we would... Yes, I think that that's fine. Maybe I would set one of them up to begin the strategy there.
Is there anything else you would like to tacticalize over?
The one thing I think that maybe is bothering Sister Minerva is how they got. So they basically are at like the convent now. Like they got to us here. Am I able to figure out how they got here and maybe strategize a way for them to not anymore? Can they not?
So they have been mostly there was at least a small detachment of vehicles, etc., sent in this direction anyway. However, the main forces have come from the other hives that essentially, once the hives were surrounded and besieged, some of their forces moved off to take over the surrounding villages, towns, smaller population centers. And once those populations started to flee, they knew the refugees knew where they were going. Like the way where there was sanctuary, which wasn't besieged, was the convent. So the refugees have all come here to escape the chaos forces. The chaos forces followed them.
I see.
Yeah. So essentially, the way to stop the chaos forces turning up here would be to not have refugees turning up here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not ideal. I think we still want to help refugees. That's still our duty.
It's an unfortunate product of having this place be a sanctuary for refugees. Is also you're going to have enemies turning up here.
Okay, then the opposite of not how to stop them, but just how to bolster our forces moving forward to stop them better.
There are minimal there are no actual anti-air vehicles or forces here currently. You could, if you want, devote your flyers, which you basically aren't using anyway, unless you'd like to use them for some scheme or other. You could devote them to heading out to the surrounding areas and picking up any remaining fighting forces, Imperial Guard, PDF, that you might be able to find, and bringing them back here to bolster your forces.
Yeah.
All of the surrounding ammo dumps and etc. have already been picked clean by you anyway, in preparation for the siege.
Yeah, it might be good to get some scrap or like some people like who are left over to maybe help bolster that, get some anti-air and all that. Yeah, get that kind of set up. Yeah, just a way to make it this place a bit more safe, and so we don't have to deal with this as badly in the future.
Okay. In that case, for the next foreseeable section of time, a couple of flyers, flying transports, will be essentially dedicated to searching the area, seeing if you can find any remnants of Imperial Guard units or PDF who'd been security in the area. Bring them back so they can essentially, at the very least, carry your ammo for you.
Yeah, help out a little bit. Yep.
You get like a whole load of PDF turning up being like, we're here to help, and the Canoness commander's like, good, make me breakfast.
We need all hands on deck, okay?
I prefer my cooks to fight. You could make the food.
We're out of tea. Go find more on the planet. We need the last of it. Very important.
Yes. Okay. In that case, the battlefield settles down into a exchange of fire, mostly with yourselves as the holding the advantage. And what I say when I mean that is that you cause more casualties, you gain more kills. However, as the days pass, you are presented with an influx of more of their forces. And you do manage to find a few Imperial Guards, a couple of squads of them, a bit more of the PDF who were in the area, So your wall forces, your firepower is increased a little bit as time goes on. However, the influx of chaos forces is kind of like a slow, steady stream. You're probably at best keeping their numbers around about the same. However, just to see how this will proceed, could everyone please give me a ballistic skill?
Do you mind for the sheep?
Apologies, yes, I will. There we go. Okay. Let's have a little look here. We have 3 for Sister Superior Rose. We have 3 for Canoness Commander Minerva. Sister Superior Genevagora has 1. We have 3 for the Dialogus, who likes to fight more than she does like to talk. And for our Medicae, we have 2. Pretty good rolls, pretty decent. What I would say is the conversion of bullets to kills is pretty good. I would say, given the current rate of fire and rate of consumption of ammunition, you have a good like 3 or 4 months. You should be able to hold out before the ammunition goes down. You have around about 6 months of supplies, as long as you don't have too much of an influx of new refugees. So you can stand to hold out for a fairly long time, as long as they don't manage to breach your walls or manage to get inside somehow. With that said, as time moves forward, the siege weapons appear to be getting close to finishing. I would say within about 3 or 4 days, you start to realize the kind of length of time you have here. Once the siege weapons come to bear, you're going to have a new problem, and you're going to have to see how that plays out. So, I will say that once they are brought to bear, you find out that they are indeed outside of the range of fire of your artillery, and of your any of your firepower you can essentially bring to bear. Like, there is some attempts to get a decent range on them, but the artillery falls short, and essentially they are able to start laying down fire on your general enclosure. The fire isn't accurate; it's very indirect. But you do lose sisters to and refugees and etc. to the indirect fire, and I imagine there is going to be a need to do something about it. I would say, again, going off all of your rolls and everything up to this point, it's hard to tell because it's a bit random and indirect. It's going to lead to you, most likely, your defenses being breached in the next couple of weeks, if you're lucky.
Okay. Does that make me feel like evacuation is imminent, or like should we just keep fighting essentially?
So the first couple of transports are close to being ready. If you wanted to, you could evacuate maybe in the next few days the core personnel for the order, along with like the Cardinal and a couple of other importance. That would leave the convent without a leadership structure, but you do know your sisters well enough to know that they can hold. Or if you wanted to start evacuating refugees, you could also start doing that.
I think maybe evacuating the refugees we can like, obviously we can handle what's to come for the most part. But getting them out, and then, if it's like in a couple of weeks this place is gonna, not be usable, we should probably start getting them out first.
Okay. You will also have to deal with the artillery. I would say probably given that the forces have fully surrounded you at this point, there is a decent likelihood that you could sally forth quickly with a few like quick transports and tanks, etc., vehicles, and do a surgical strike upon the artillery, hopefully knock it out and delay them bringing big guns to bear on you.
And can't we just like... Oh, can we just send
Can't we just
something?
glass the whole entire planet? Oh my
Can we
gosh.
just call in an arcoflagellant or something and just come in and take everything out, Like, let's just level it.
Gosh, we should just level the planet.
So tired. We just want to get Inquisitor's ass already. God.
God.
So,
we got stuff to do, heretics. We got stuff to do, people. Come on now.
We got churches.
Move aside. We have a manhunt to do. Okay.
I think maybe even Sister Minerva is feeling like the unrestfulness, like the rage, all of the emotions, really, but like at how much things have changed in the past months. I'm ready to just level some shit.
Oh yeah. So before we go deeper into any of that, I have to fade in to the walls at night during a lesser situation, like exchange of fire. Basically, there's occasional shots, but it is dark and the use of lights is limited. During this time, the Sister Genevagora, yes. You are alerted to movement out in between, essentially, let's call it no man's land, between the trenches and the fortifications. A small group of refugees appears to have managed to crawl under cover of darkness, make it through the chaos lines, and are making their way up to the gates. This is reported to you by one of the sisters, who says, Sister Genevagora, we have some refugees headed for the gates.
Are they armed?
Not as far as we can see.
I'll probably walk with her over to whatever vantage point we have so we can try and see where they are.
Yeah.
I'll probably fire a warning shot between them and the gate to make them stop.
Yes. As you fire the warning shot, it kind of pings off the ground nearby them, and they kind of huddle and take cover behind one of the rocks, this kind of like boulder, and you see like hands kind of coming up. At the same time, a flare is fired and flies over the top of you and lights up, and some small arms fire starts coming in towards the gate and towards the refugees from the trench lines. You hear kind of over this like this kind of rattle of fire, like, help, please, I have a family.
Open the gate.
Yes, sister. And she runs off to go and open the gate. And as the gate starts to very quietly like kind of open, the family like get up with like bullets kind of pinging around them in a very general way, and start heading towards the gate.
Let only that family inside. Seal it immediately afterwards.
Yes, sister. And the family like run up to the gate. They kind of slip through it. It's only open like a crack or a bit. And it's a man, a slightly shorter, dark woman, with a couple of kind of around, like early teenage kids. And when they get to the gate, they are stopped by the sisters on guard down at the bottom, who say, "No entry without permission."
Let them through.
Yes, Sister Superior. And they move out the way, and the family kind of comes bundling in. They've got their stuff, their like clothes with them and supplies with them, and they said, "Thank you, sister. Thank you. We've been traveling for days. We didn't think we were going to make it through."
As long as you bear no ill intentions, you should be allowed passage. And I'll turn to the sisters who were stood there. Can you clearly not tell the difference between innocent civilians and heretic?
My apologies, Sister Superior. It won't happen again.
Be. And I'll have them direct the civilians over to where the rest of them are staying.
And as they go, as one of the sisters like guides them away, you hear them saying like, "I heard we might be able to evacuate the planet. Is that true?" And the sister says like, "Yes, preparations are almost ready for them to, for you to evacuate the planet." And I would say around about an hour later, there is a humongous explosion from the staging area where the transport ships were located, as the family infiltrate and destroy the transport ships, all of them aside from one. The sisters panic. They essentially charge over, start to investigate. They find a couple of the bodies of the refugees who had infiltrated. Presumably now we would think they are not refugees, they are infiltrators from Chaos, sent to destroy the sole means of evacuation from the planet that currently exists.
Was that the family that I let in?
It was. And I would say there is a moment when Sister Superior Genevagora is essentially all of you rush to the scene. Sister Genevagora, when you get there, you see a couple of stretchers being led away, and see the face of one of them is the father, the man in the group, has very clearly exploded.
Shit.
My question is how are we going about this? Because I could see essentially an investigation into this, or I'm curious.
So do we all run over there?
I
or
suppose,
like,
yeah, we all see.
Yeah,
and
so
like the
run over there,
explosion.
and I go, and I look, and I go, Genevagora,
Who did this?
I thought they were refugees.
Refugees.
I allowed them in. They should have been screened like the rest of them.
should have been, or were they?
I do not screen them myself.
Halestri,
That is delicated.
at that answer, at that like attitude, Halestri just casually raises a boulder at her. Not
At
doing
me?
anything, but just
Yeah.
raises it. No, at Jennifer Gore.
Oh, yeah.
I was.
You are like
Yeah, I was gonna say, what?
like despite all of this
Yeah.
shit, you are her sister superior, right? And yeah, so she just raises a boulder at Jennifer.
I will say at essentially the same time, a couple of the other sisters who have been attending Sister Superior Rose essentially cock their guns and, you know, like have them at a ready stance, but they're not currently pointed at you.
I hold my hand up.
They hold.
Sister, Genevagora,
Yes, Sister Rose.
screening was delegated. However, it is up to us to make sure that the proper processes are finished. Did you see that their screening was completed?
I did not, as I was required back on the wall.
Sister, in the land of the witless, you would be a canoness commander. You are relieved of your duties. And I snap my fingers and I have my bolters go up to her.
Yep.
Sister Canoness Commander Minerva steps forward
Okay.
and sees all of they all have their bolters up at Genevagora and Sister Rose making that order, and Minerva raises her hand. Actually, I have a better
Canoness?
idea. I have a better idea.
She nods and she snaps her hands again and tells them to lower their weapons.
They step back, but they're still like to
Yeah.
the sides, like ready to.
Sister Genevagora, you had much potential, but you are soft. And I too had once good intentions that were quickly sapped out of me when I realized the true grave matters that we are facing. Good intentions no longer matter in time of war. You have unfortunately failed us so catastrophically that we no longer have any means of transportation out of here. This could mean the end of this order if we cannot leave. Because of this is not something we, as Sisters of Battle, bring upon many of our own. I will sentence you to combat upon the penitent engine.
Canoness, please. This could have happened to anyone.
We did need a way to end this quickly.
I beg you, please, Canoness. This is not meant to be my destiny.
This is what was meant to be. Everything here now and moving forward was meant to be.
If Sister Rose were under battle, the same thing would have happened. It's mere misfortune of luck.
Nothing is misfortune. Nothing is luck. Everything is how the Emperor wills it. Sister Rose, seize
Amanda.
her and get her ready for the penitent engine.
Sister. Gora. And I snap my fingers, and I have the bolters both resume their positions with their guns up.
Move forward and take her arms.
Sister. I need you for something that only you can provide. And that would be your absence from us. Take her away.
And they, I imagine, struggling a little bit and protesting still.
Kicking and screaming.
They take her away through the convent and down into the depths of the convent where the penitent engine resides. You are essentially clad only in a basic robe. You are prepared and strapped in and on to the penitent engine with essentially things, tubes put into you and the etc. The penitent engine is a way for those who have failed to redeem themselves. And I assume we know where the penitent engine is going to be pointed.
Yes.
The long-range artillery.
Right at the artillery.
Okay. So, Sister Jennifer Gora, as you have been stripped of rank, you are blindfolded. You are strapped into the penitent engine, a walker machine with melee weapons and a flat front, which you are suspended on. Your pain, your regret, and your guilt fueling it. It will charge in a straight line and destroy everything in its path until both you and it are killed. You will feel essentially a unending pain until that point. You will not be able to see what is happening. You will be fueling the engine of war up to that point. And you are brought forth to the front of the gate, the place of your failure, with the sisters forming a line around and beside you as the Canoness commander steps onto the parapet above you to deliver your sentence before you are sent out to complete your mission.
Let the choirs ring true. Let you repent for what you've done.
And the only thing you will hear as the engine sets off into the battlefield is the prayer of terror. Protect us, O Emperor, from the snares of the heretic, the mutant, the Xeno, and the Warpspawn.
And as the penitent engine charges through the trench lines, as the bullets ping off it, as it knocks heretics over and makes a straight beeline for the artillery, you do not feel the bullets that penetrate your skin. You do not feel the slow ebbing of life as you slowly push through, and eventually yourself and your punishment, the penitent engine, make it to the siege engines, crash into them, and do irreparable damage to them. The last thing you feel is unending pain. And we will end there for today.
God.
Well, ain't you glad that ain't you, huh?
That's an ending.
Thank you for coming on, Safi.
What a way to go on a penitent, strapped to a penitent engine.
Well,
Man.
Oh god. If you're gonna do it with fucking style, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Fealty of the God
Wow.
Emperor, our undying Lord, and by the grace of the Golden Throne, I hereby sign the death warrant of an entire world.
So, yeah, it's an effective way to deal with the problem, but it's not a fun way for anyone to go, really. Penitent engines are pretty rough.
Terrible way to go.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why? You served your emperor till the end.
Even in death, you serve.
Also, I'm very happy that the music kicked in where it did. It really it really hit with the speech, to be honest. So thank you, Safi, for being on today. I'm going to run through our super chats very quickly. I believe there was a late one for what just happened, but I'll go from the top. Which is from Duzapin Dan. On a scale of Cadia to Horus, I'm not sure about that scale, but okay. How badly is it going to go for the Inquisitor if the sisters catch him?
Dang.
As
ain't
bad
got
as we can
nothing.
make it.
Yeah, I think the retribution is going to be fairly
Yes.
extreme. Especially seeing as he set up a cordon, a blockade, and just basically said kill everyone who goes there.
This bitch, man. Oh my god. Like, what the fuck?
I imagine Minerva saying that as she like for example, as she heard the news, like just saying like this motherfucking bitch.
Yeah, in her personal quarters, just that's
It's like
She-
reading the newspaper and having commentary all by yourself.
Yep. Scrolling her Twitter feed, like, God fucking damn it. Like
Following up, we have Damned Man. Hello, Sister Jennifer Gora, bracket Safi. Inquisitor Damned Man here. If Sister Rose departs, you could have her position. How would
Yeah.
you secure her departure? Interesting
Yes,
question now, huh?
Get her strapped to
Well, like rewind.
Yeah, maybe
Really?
switch shifts on the guard.
I like what Jennifer Gora said though, was like, but if it was Sister Rose, she would have done the same. Like, she was like, she would have done the same thing.
You know what's funny is I disagree with that. She would have shot those fucking civilians
Yeah.
and been like, nah.
I mean, she was trying like anything at that point,
Yeah.
like even throwing her on the bus. So yeah, how would she have secured her position? Probably with a knife between her shoulder blades.
ooh.
That could have been fun. Next up, we have Peachy Pixel 8. That's the letter 8, not the number 8. He says, if not 200, how many sisters is it okay to sacrifice for super battle sisters, Helestri?
Yes.
Damn.
hey. You know, perhaps now we think like, nah, 200 is too much. We won't do that.
Yeah.
But like people change, you know? Thoughts change, you know? Maybe progress is worth more. Like there's a lot of casualties in battle, right?
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
A lot of casualties.
I can just see Sister Helestri being like, well, this one's going to die anyway. We can't save them. So let's just experiment a little. And then it just escalates from there. And she's got like thousands of dead sisters. And like sooner or later, I'm going to get it. But do we have a quantifiable number of sacrifices it's okay to get super battle sisters?
No, why would you put a number on it?
Yeah, just keep going till you make it. Okay. Next up, we have the Blind Watchman. Any sister named Paris? No reason in particular. I was wondering if that was a reference to Troy, like because you're now under siege. I was like, do they think that I'm gonna bring in a like a wooden horse or something? A wooden statue of the Emperor, you know?
It kind of did, you know?
Yeah, you
Like,
kind of did.
Yeah, like, hey, just want to come in. We're just innocent refugees.
Yeah. You know what? Good powers of prediction, Blind Watchman. That was, you called it, in a way. Finally, we have another Inquisitor question. Damned Man again. Hello, Sister Jennifer Gora, bracket Safi. Inquisitor Damned Man here. You earned a further question. How guilty do you feel now? Remember what innocence proves.
Oh my gosh.
Proves absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
How guilty do I feel? I mean, these guys threw me under the bus first chance they got, so they're not guilty at all. They can suck it.
Yeah.
Enjoy your one spaceship.
Well,
Fun with the invasion.
Oh, okay. So the Cadia to Horus scale is the Cadians just died while Horus's soul got shattered into nothingness.
Oh my God.
That makes sense. I imagine they'd like to shatter the Inquisitor's soul into nothingness if they could. But yes, the prospects are looking more dire again. Apologies, sisters. There is.
40K though. Doesn't
Yes.
it always look dire?
It is.
You ain't wrong.
It's what I've learned.
There is still a remnant transport ship, just the one. So it's possible you may be able to do something with it. But essentially, the evacuation plan is going to be a little bit of a problem, and
Just more people are gonna die.
yeah.
It's gonna
But
suck.
I imagine we will visit that next time. For now, let's do a round and say hello and thank you to everyone. I think we'll begin with our sacrificial lamb. On basically every single sheepdog show.
Oh my gosh.
On every sheepdog show that has existed that she has been on, Safi Pie, Rue, Jennifer Gora, and Peachy Pixelate.
What?
Because when you came in, you were Peachy.
Peachy, come on in.
No, he's not allowed in.
No. He's had his time in the spotlight.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Safi and I played Rue Jennifer Gora. Instead of promote myself, I'm just going to recommend you check out Peachy Pixelate. Peachy Pixelate.
Is that why he
Peachy
bought you
Pixel
that
28.
cup? Okay.
Yeah, I asked if he could get me some water and he brought me in this cup.
Oh, jeez.
So, check out his channel, buy his merch, and also watch his YouTube videos about where he
my
paints
gosh.
miniatures. If you like Warhammer 40k, you will love these painting videos.
It's true. I loved it. It was really good.
Obviously, the boy needs the money because if he can't get you a glass and that's the only thing he can get you for water, my dear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please
right,
watch his YouTube videos so he can take me out to dinner.
Please watch his YouTube videos so I may get an actual glass of water.
Yeah, it's
It'll
all
be
fucking
branded too,
love
though.
it. All right, hot potato to my frenemy, Cat.
That's me. I have a friend of me. Oh my gosh. I loved the banter and like the little insult off and whatnot. Like, man, you could cut that tension with a butter knife. It was so thick. I loved it. It was great. Sisters, we're not looking so hot
We are not.
up out here, up out here and on this planet,
No.
convent's looking a little
It's looking bleak.
it's getting a little
Oh, Blake.
Yep.
Anyways, hi, my name is Kat. I play your lovely, amazing, perfect, just absolutely just amazing in every single possible way you could ever think of in existence. Sister, Commander, Sarah Rose. I enjoy playing this game with these lovely ladies and having Sheepy as a wonderful DM. You can find me on Twitter, which is I'm Cat, or on Twitch, which is I'm Cat. I'm currently on a little streaming hiatus. I am doing a lot of art commissions, which you should be able to see via email that Peachy says he has put in like descriptions or whatnot of like info boxes and stuff. So yeah, if you need some art done.
And
Drop
if
into
it
my
Throw me
email.
on a penitent engine.
and if it hasn't been done,
I no
it's
joke. I
PG's fault.
kind of want to draw like a like like a Lego block version of a penitent engine.
That would be cute.
Coming soon to Roblox, the penitent engine.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
That'll show the kids.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Oh man, I will pass my hot potato over to my very smart and competent and totally not considering heresy or seeking knowledge, because seeking knowledge is for heretics.
True.
And leads you onto the unjust path of treachery and rebellion.
I wonder who she's gonna pass it on to.
Yeah, it could be anyone.
It could be anyone.
The intro.
My lovely sister, Halestri, baby.
Oh shoot! Oh shoot! Hi, I'm Syrinx. I played Halestri. The sister who is kind of looking into heresy, and the more she the first time she looked at it, she was like, no, that's not my thing. And then she like keeps looking back at the picture of heresy, and she's like,
But maybe.
damn, but it has something. You can find me as Syrinx on Twitter and Instagram. And we'll be back next week with these lovely ladies to see how we will get the Inquisitor and make him pay. But first, we need to get off this planet. And I'm gonna pass it on to Lilith.
Bye. Thank you. I am having way too much fun, and Lilith is very happy she got to blow things up today. She's just like a little kid in a candy store. She's just like, I got to use guns. She's got like an extra little pep in her step.
Yeah.
My name is Ellie, or you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as Elbel, spelled with a 3, not an E. And I'm very excited. Tomorrow I'm gonna play Power Wash Sim with 40k.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go clean all the 40k stuff.
Oh, you have to let us know how it is.
There's some cool vehicles in there.
I'm really excited to take a look at that tomorrow. So, yeah, and I stream on Twitch 3 days a week.
Can you imagine if it had a penitent engine?
Washing off the blood.
It just has Jennifer Gora's blood on it. You're just like, oh.
Yeah, it's just a used penitent engine with like blood and stuff, and it's like,
Oh
oh
my
wow, what's
God.
this? This looks like what is this? Is this a mech suit? It's
That's too much.
Oh.
Oh my god.
It's Sister. Yeah, okay. Anyways,
Yes.
going on to our fearless, wonderful, wonderful Canoness leader, who led us into battle so spiritedly. There we go. That's the word I was trying to find today.
Yes. If anything, if I doubt my leadership skills, at least I'm here to sing prayers and praises and hymns to the Emperor. So you know what? At least I got that going for me. Because I appreciate you guys. Because sometimes I'm like, what do we do? Yeah, let's do that. Because I'm like, shit. Oh my god.
Hey.
Yes.
You don't have to be a tactical and strategic genius. You just play one on TV.
Yes, exactly. That is true. It's whenever people like say they play like a high intelligence character and they're like, well, my intelligence isn't high, that whole thing.
That's what the GM's there for.
Yeah.
You think George Clooney knows how to operate on a brain? Hell no.
This is true. You're right. But
Get
yes,
out,
hello
y'all.
everybody. I am Canoness Minerva, aka Tracy, aka Miss Magitech, aka MagicRPG, all of the things. You can find me mostly at twitch.tv/MagicRPG, where I do lots of tabletop gaming stuff with my friends. And I also do other random content on the side. If you guys are into TikTok, you should check out my TikTok because I posted some Sisters of Battle inspired TikToks, and they've been popping off. They've been blowing up. The Warhammer dudes have been coming in. They're like debating.
the Warhammer.
I mean, they are
simping on your sister.
Like the dudes who love the Sororitas be coming in and talking lots of things about the system. It's funny, actually. If you want to read the comment section, it's actually quite entertaining. Literally, there's like a 20 thread debate on, oh my god, what is it? They were debating something about Sisters of Battle in my comment. I was like, oh my
Lord.
god, what did I do?
Character protects you as your simp.
So, and I did kind of like role play like my character, like in some of it too.
Oh, okay.
So yes. So
if
now,
you want a little bit more of Canoness Commander Minerva.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna like send all. You know what? We're sending all the Warhammer dudes here. So let's go. They can come in here and have debates in the chat. But yeah, that's me and what I've been up to lately. So I'll pass it last to Sheepy.
Hello, I am Sheepdog. This is The Wandering Inn, and you have been watching another 40k show. Yes, well, I have plans for some other 40k shows, but coming up next, we are going to be after the end of Conventual Warfare. We have a couple more episodes. We'll be moving into a little bit of Vikings as a show called Berserker, which you'll see some information on soon. And past that, I have plans for another show as well, which some things have been done on. It's looking good. If you would like me to be even more overwhelmed with things to do, please do go visit the Patreon. Consider becoming pledging or becoming a member of the Patreon, and essentially forcing me into doing 2 shows a week. Although probably I'll be able to get GMs at some point to come in and do that and help me out with the shows. But yes, essentially go do that. Think about if you want to stay up to date with the shows and everything. Check out the Twitter, check out the X, whatever it is. I don't care. And check out the Discord. And then there is a website which I forgot to mention in the intro. You can go check out the website. It has all of the shows on there, pretty easy to find and to find the episodes and everything. And is kept updated by the amazing and wonderful Mark, because I keep forgetting. With that in mind, we're gonna go. Yeah, sure. With that in mind, we're gonna go off and go to other places and do other things. I have to catch up on updating a whole load of stuff and organizing everything. So thank you very much to all of you, especially Safi, who, unless we manage to figure out a way to talk to the dead, will not be back next week.
Your corpse will be well used.
That's even more disturbing coming from Helestri.
And on that note, thanks for the episode.
Hello and welcome to the first official short Sheepy's going to put out on his shorts channel. We're gonna head off. Thank you for that, Syrinx, and see you later, everyone. Bye.